Hey loves, happy Tuesday. I hope that you guys are doing well today. It is Taco Tech Tuesday, and for today's topic, I'm going to be speaking on the dark night of the soul. So the dark night of the soul can be used to describe a very difficult or painful period in your life, which can be triggered by external events, and it also describes the process of detaching from the ego. This is when the soul is breaking away from illusions of fear and ego to shift our alignment and value to what is true. So with this, it can often feel like depression, but it's more so a spiritual desolation, and it often feels like a period in life where you feel completely lost or just disconnected from God. It's definitely a very transformative experience because you are breaking free from all the things that you thought brought meaning to your life, and you come out with a transformed state of consciousness. So although this may feel like a very dark phase in your life, it also does allow for you to experience a full rebirth. So I'm going to be going through the different phases as well as the symptoms and what you can do to overcome this period so that you can step into your full transformation. So if you're interested, let's get into it. So when it comes to the dark night of the soul, there's a couple of things that can trigger this. One of them being that it can be losing somebody close to you, a loved one. It can be the diagnosis of a life-threatening illness. It can be a relationship split, or just anything that you feel you've experienced in your life that's led you to feeling very lost, alone, or like all hope is gone. So I'm going to give you guys a little backstory onto what caused me to experience mine. So this was years back, but for me, it was a relationship that I was in. This relationship was very mentally abusive, emotionally abusive. And I got to a point where I felt so disconnected from myself and who I am and just life overall that I was kind of experiencing derealization. I didn't really feel like I was here. I didn't feel present. I felt like life wasn't actually real. I just started losing all sense of who I was. And it was very hard for me to see anything other than the pain that I was experiencing. I felt so lost. I felt very confused. And I just didn't want to even exist anymore. It was a very, very painful period. And it was a bit of depression as well. But it was something that happened more so spiritually. And it was something that I couldn't even really explain at the time because it was nothing like anything I've ever felt. A lot of people describe the dark night of the soul as a spiritual depression, which I think is the perfect explanation for it, because with regular depression, it is a mental illness. It's a chemical imbalance in the brain. So it's more so a mental thing. But with the dark night of the soul, it's a spiritual effect that you feel. It's something where you just feel completely disconnected. And at that time as well, I wasn't on my spiritual routines. I wasn't praying as much. I was disconnected from everything. So I didn't even have that direct line to source. I wasn't praying. I wasn't meditating back then. I wasn't doing half of the things that I do now. And that is what led to me having my biggest breakthrough. And at the time, it didn't really feel like a good experience at all. And I definitely did not feel like I was going to move through that phase. But over time, once I started using that to usher in my healing, that's when I started to see the transformation begin. During this time, you're going to feel really called to just be alone. You're going to feel called to just be to yourself. You're not really going to want to surround yourself with anybody. You're going to want to be in your own energy. And a lot of things are going to come up during this period of your life. You're going to start realizing certain trauma that you may have. Whatever it was that triggered you into this experience, you're going to be really harboring on those emotions and feelings of that experience as well. And it's really a purging process. This is when you are purging spiritually. You're purging all of the emotions and the things that no longer serve you. You're purging old belief systems. You're purging old habits. This is just a really transformative period where you are letting go of everything that does not serve you and you are transforming into a new you. Now, I'm going to go into the symptoms. So one of the symptoms is that you can feel as though you have everything or that you may be happy, but there's still something that you feel that's missing. Now, this is why I say that sometimes you're going to start to see that certain things that you thought brought meaning to your life are not actually bringing you meaning. So you may be in a place in your life where you feel like everything is content, everything is stable, you feel like you're at a good place, but for some reason you still feel disconnected. And this is a major sign that the meaning that you found for yourself is not within the things that you thought were going to bring you meaning. You may feel as though you should be happy because you're at this certain place, but there's still something that's missing inside of you. So with the dark night of the soul, it really causes you to go within and to find a new meaning to what is purposeful to you. So another sign is that you may be experiencing purging symptoms. So you may feel the need to purge. You may feel the need to exercise more, work out, work up a sweat more. You may feel the need to start eating healthier. You may be called to just going outside more. You may feel the need to cry, to release anger, a bunch of built up emotions. This is a really important one. So you want to make sure that you do everything that you need to purge when you feel those emotions come up. So another key sign is that you're going to start to feel very lost and confused. So this happens when you start recognizing all of the limitations that you've placed on yourself. So this is actually a really good place to be in, because this allows you to open up your perspective and to build a new way of living. Another major sign is that you won't feel the need to impress or please people as much. And you're just going to be more open to being genuinely who you are and stepping in your authenticity. Most of society runs off of ego, so a lot of the things that people do is for the validation of others. When you experience a dark night of the soul, this also causes an ego death. So you're going to start to realize that you don't care as much about what people think about you. You don't care as much about pleasing others. You don't care as much about being seen and being validated. So you'll start to feel more comfortable with being in your own skin and following your truth. So another major sign is that you may start to rethink what your definition of success looks like. So we've been very conditioned to have this sort of idea of what success is, what peace and happiness looks like. And once you experience a dark night of the soul and you lose touch of that ego self, you start realizing what peace and happiness really means to you, what happiness really looks like for you, and it's outside of what society tells you it is. Another major sign is that you may start discovering your inner child or just reconnecting with your inner child again. Now, this was one of my favorite aspects because there was a lot of things about my inner child that I neglected and that I didn't really tend to because of the fact that it was trauma involved. I wasn't wanting to look at certain aspects of my inner child because it was bruised. But this gives you the opportunity to actually heal your inner child and to start doing things that can help your inner child to flourish. So reconnecting with your creativity again, reconnecting with what makes you happy or what used to make you happy, and also doing inner child healing. So another major sign is that you're going to start to break out of that 3D world. So you're going to start seeing things for what they truly are. You're going to start being guided to learning new knowledge on certain topics, to finding the truth, to just really redefining what life is. A lot of people really stick to everything that they've known and don't really go out of their way to gain new knowledge because it's comfortable. When you are used to living a certain way, being a certain way, thinking a certain way, it's a level of comfortability that is very hard to break free from sometimes. But when you experience a dark night of the soul and that ego death, you really start feeling called to just learning more, to gaining new knowledge, to expanding your consciousness, because you're at a point now where you're uncomfortable in that comfortability. It pushes you to really step outside of your comfort zone and to see things from a higher perspective, from a spiritual perspective. So you'll feel really called to just learn more about yourself, about others, and just about life overall. Now, this symptom I experienced, and this is when I didn't understand what I was going through. So it was actually a very scary feeling. I thought I was losing my mind. But it's like that feeling that you get where you feel like you're dying in a sense. I felt, for one, I was going through a little bit of depression, so I was a little bit depressed as well. But it was that spiritual sense, that spiritual side of me that was going through a rebirth, and I didn't really understand what was taking place. I wasn't feeling connected to who I was, so I felt like I was dying in a sense, but it was just the old me that was dying. It was certain patterns that I'd been stuck in for so long that were dying out and that were just not resonating with me anymore. And you're going to start feeling like you're just not aligned with certain things. And it does happen a bit abruptly. So you may feel as though you were fine, everything was just one way of living, and then out of nowhere, you're just feeling called to completely shift everything that you've ever known. So it is a difficult process. But this is also the most important process, and this is a part of the purging, because you have to allow that old version of you to die out. And this is what's going to help you to grow. A lot of the times people stay stuck in that comfortability. They don't allow themselves to break free from everything that they've known so that they can step into a new version of themselves. And this part of the dark night of the soul is what leads to your rebirth. When you finally release who you thought that you were and everything that you thought that you believed or that you knew, and you start stepping into new, this is going to help you to step into a higher version of yourself so that you can come into alignment with who you really meant to be. So another symptom is that you may feel a little off when it comes to your eating habits. So a lot of the times you may not feel as hungry, or you may feel super hungry, or you may be just feeling like you need to get more rest. Definitely make sure to get more rest during this time, because your body is recalibrating and you have to allow yourself to get that rest, because that's what's going to help you to have more energy. And so the last thing that I'll mention is that this is when your healing will start taking place. So you may be feeling called to heal certain trauma that you may have. You may be feeling called to start reading more, or to just start learning more about the way that your mind works and breaking out of certain habits and ways of thinking that don't serve you. And you may even, while in isolation, start learning more about yourself and who you really are. So this period will really allow you to not only heal yourself, but to come out as a new form of yourself and be able to help others as well. So another thing that I want to mention really quick as well is that if you are somebody that is very highly sensitive, you most likely have spiritual abilities. And people that have spiritual abilities are usually more prone to experiencing things like depression and anxiety. So that is a little tip as well that I want to mention. So make sure that you are figuring out during this time certain things that you can do to keep yourself balanced spiritually. So as for some tips on how to get through these symptoms, I want to start by saying awareness is the first key. When you are unaware to something that's happening to you, it's a lot harder to get through it because you don't understand what's happening. So the fact that now you can maybe understand what it is that you're experiencing, that's going to help a ton. Second tip that I want to say is to allow yourself to have some form of isolation. Now, you don't have to ghost everyone for months on end, but do give yourself some time and space to be in your own energy so that you can process your emotions. Another thing that I want to say is to be very patient with yourself during this period. So allow yourself the time to rest and to heal, and do not rush this process. If you feel that you need to take a little break, take a break. If you feel that you need to step back from certain things, make sure that you do that. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself physically as well. You're eating proper foods, you're drinking a lot of water, you're getting the rest that you need when you feel that you need a rest as well. And I would also mention to go out and spend time in nature, ground yourself, because this can be a lot of just mental chaos that you may feel. You may feel very off balance and very all over the place. So grounding yourself will definitely help you during this time. Make sure that you're getting out in nature, that you're taking some deep breaths, maybe even doing some form of breath work and meditation. That will definitely help as well. Now, another tip that I want to give is to do some introspection. Start learning more about who you really are. So start learning about the things that you like, that you dislike. Start learning about what you really want for yourself in your life, what you see for yourself. Start making some plans about where you want to go, maybe what you want to start getting into, maybe some extra hobbies that you want to do. Start learning about certain trauma that you have and overcoming that as well. Me personally, what helped me to overcome that trauma was doing journal prompts and introspection. So asking myself certain questions about things that I experienced, asking myself questions about who I really am. So just get to know who you are at this moment in your life and learn about the things that made you who you are today. Another thing that I would say that really helps as well is that if you are out of that isolation period, start spending time with people that you genuinely connect with. Maybe your family, maybe you have certain friends that are in alignment with you, that you genuinely resonate with. Make sure that you are spending time with people that you love and with people that you care about. Now, the biggest tip that I want to say is to allow this process to flow as it has to. Do not try to rush the process. Do not try to draw out the process. Literally just allow yourself to feel. Allow all these feelings to pass. Make sure that you are purging. Make sure that you are allowing yourself to go through the motions. Do not try to suppress anything that comes up during this time, because then you are not fully going to allow yourself to heal. So everything that comes up, every emotion, every feeling, every thought, make sure that you are being very in tune with it. And I would even recommend to write during this time as well. The things that come up, the ways that you're feeling is going to really help. But do not suppress anything. Do not allow yourself to ignore anything that comes up. Just make sure that you are feeling, you are moving through these emotions, and that you are flowing. But that is it, you guys. I really do hope that this video helped you guys and that you found it very useful and maybe even gave you some insight into something that you may be experiencing during this time. Don't worry, because this is all going to pass, and with this you will have a rebirth. You will become a newer and improved version of yourself, And you're going to be very grateful for this experience. And it may feel a little dark at this time. It may feel very confusing. You may not understand fully. But once you come out on the opposite end, you're going to see how much this actually has benefited you in a very positive way. And I wish you guys all the very best. I'm here for you guys. I love you guys. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed and subscribe to stay tuned for more. I will see you guys in my next video. Peace and much love.